What's up, everybody? Aaron here, and yeah, it's not an official live stream. It's just a live stream. We have a few guests. I think we'll have some others joining us throughout. If you are a creator, you can always drop in if you want to chat. I'm going to try to keep this to about an hour, though. I am on a little vacation. That's why there's random surfs and boogie boards and stuff behind me. But anyway, let's get going with John and Ed, whom are people that we probably all know in the same circle. So, what's up, guys?
What's up?
How's everybody doing?
Doing. What's new in the John verse?
In the John verse, we got. Oh my gosh, we're about to fulfill our 12th book in 3 years with Part-Time Comics. We got 3 more right behind it, so we always got something going
on. Ed, what's going on, man? I know you have a campaign.
Yeah,
we're working through some stuff. I don't know what you feel like talking about, but anything.
Yeah, we can talk about it all. So I have a campaign right now for the 8th issue of Immortal Era. It's about 2/3 of the way funded, so moving well because it's only been up for a few days. So happy with the progress. And then Aaron and I are working out my new series that's going to come out as soon as I fulfill issue 8 of Immortal Era. We'll be dropping the brand new series Corruptor. So
hey, Carissa.
Hey, Carissa. So what we're working on is we're working on the colors right now. So I'm sending Aaron the colors, kind of getting his input, because honestly, I'd be too nice and be like, everything's good. So I'm like, I need a discriminating eye. And that's where I bring Aaron in. He's like, nope, that doesn't work. This doesn't work. But the colorist is good. When I send him the notes, he fixes it. And yeah, he's about halfway through with the colors, and that'll be ready I'm hoping for a September release, because I'm going to be doing a horror con in Los Angeles. And I think that book, as much as Immortal Era has a lot of gore, it's not quite in the horror realm, but this new one will fit in a lot better in the horror realm.
Yeah, I'm excited about the new one myself. It's fun to edit from the outside perspective, I guess. Like, not having it be a thing that I wrote and scripted. So now I get to be not a jerk, but I get to take Ed's script and be like, that doesn't match up with what you told me, Ed.
You idiot.
Yeah. Hey, Van, how's it going, man? Oh, goodness. Yeah, and then we, of course, at Catalyst, we have Tilt the Trade going on right now, and that's been, superheroes. I don't know what to say. It's our first trade. No matter what happens, it's, of course, a book that's going to come out. We do have bigger plans to kind of, I don't want to say send Tilt off, because lately people have been asking if it will continue, and it may someday, but right now it's kind of, let's get the trade done, and then let's do something else with the trade, and then we're going to work on other series. I have a new series that's going to be coming up shortly. All the preview stuff's ready for it, and we're honestly ready for a campaign. We just aren't there yet. Because we got to get through this one. So I'm hoping to get the Tilt trade out and delivered to everybody. I know I put January, but I'm actually hoping to get it to everyone before Christmas, because it's done, it's ready. I just put January to be safe. So
yeah,
Smart. Yeah, I've definitely had to learn the what is it? Under promise, over fulfill, or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm always
I got hit with that when I got printer delays, because the printer I used did a big Black Friday sale,
I didn't hear about that.
Completely put them backwards, where normally they promise, a 2 to 3 week delivery. Well, it took 3.5 months. So Here I was promising December, and people didn't have their books till February. But I find your audience is pretty forgiving if you constantly send them updates and let them know, hey, it's at the printer, I'm just waiting on the proofs, and it's going to get to you. So as long as they know you're not just one of those flakes that's trying to take the money and run, they're pretty forgiving. But I was so upset, because I'm normally diligent with getting them out in time, and wait, 2 months later, I actually had to go back and have my letterer go and change. What's up, Tim?
Good
I
old
had
Tim.
I let her change all the dates because it said December. I'm like, all right, it's not December. It's not even going to be January. So we had to change it to all February. So the only ones that have the December date would be the proofs that I got.
Oh, look, delays make your heart sink.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the crowdfunding stuff, because then you just feel like you're letting everybody down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I wouldn't know anything about delays with printers. You know, you and I have never spoken about that, right?
Yeah. We've never had long conversations about printer delays and frustration, and then not even sending all the books I was supposed to get.
Yeah. That was the bigger sweat. Like, it's like, all right,
Yeah,
let it be delayed, but just send me all my shit.
200 trades. So we're not talking 200 single issues, but 200 trades. I'm thinking at the price those things are, you can't short me even. I don't want to be shorted 2 trades, let alone 200.
No, I'd flip a table.
Yeah, luckily everything came, but not in a timely manner. But what came in the first batch was enough to fulfill all the pledges. So at least there was that. What I was waiting on was more stuff to put on my tables at cons.
Sarah's here, all the way from across the pond. Super late.
Hello.
Yeah.
You're awake.
Good. I am awake. Well past my bedtime, but I'm up.
Sarah has a project right now called Knave of Hearts that is up on Kickstarter. If you could send me your link in the private chat, I'll make sure it gets posted for you.
Yeah, no problem. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, I don't know who knows each other. It's weird right now because I've worked with all of you in some capacity.
We're all just Aaron's people. Yeah,
It's an accident. All right. I know there are a couple of other people that were invited, and if they drop in, they drop in. If they don't, they don't. If anybody needs to pop in, talk about what they have going on, then that's fine too. And then we'll kick you out whenever John says kick them out.
yeah. Let's hear Sarah's background. I think she and I recently met via social media, so I know her in that capacity. But tell me, how long have you been in the game? What are you up to? What you got going on?
So I wrote and drew my first comic. Well, it was finished in May, and I've self-published through Amazon. I've got a Kickstarter at the moment to help with printing costs so I can get it to a Comic-Con, but I am like a noob. I kind of fell into making my own comic. And Aaron was my editor. So he helped make the story coherent and kind of guided me when I was sort of at the end of the process. But yeah, I started out just drawing a few panels, really loved it, sat down and wrote a story, and yeah, sort of my first issue, which is 39 pages that I drew in the end, is kind of out in the world now. And I'm half asleep. But yeah, I'm just kind of trying to get people to read the first issue whilst I work on the second issue, and that's kind of it really. And I've worked in video games many years ago as like a concept artist and stuff. So my background is art, so the writing side of things is very new to me. But yeah, loving it.
And I assume you found Aaron on some CD Reddit site where he takes advantage of new creators, right?
Yep.
CD Facebook. So
the worst.
I actually think, is it Dan? It might have been Dan Schmidt in the comments that had recommended me to Sarah.
Okay.
Trying to
I work
remember.
with Dan as well.
A few people.
He's lettering my book.
All right.
Nice.
It's all connected, man.
It's all connected. The Matrix is glitching again.
Aaron's
that's cool. Sarah, you missed it earlier. I was saying it looks weird behind me because I'm on a micro vacation at a beach, so I have a boogie board and a hat.
That's
On the road
That's
and
wrong
still
with a
working.
vacation.
That's a hardworking man.
Yeah, man.
Still, even on your vacation, you're still getting my notes back right away. So
Wow.
I appreciate it.
I'm trying. Trying to keep busy. I mean, this is the editing stuff's still fairly new for me to meet people and to try to get a portfolio together for that. And it's weird because like it's been going on for like, I don't know, a little over a year now. Mm-hmm. But I want to say Ed, yours might be the first one that I've edited that's actually like, so Sarah, you, and then the other people, I don't know whatever happened to their products. They never put them out. So
Yeah, because you worked on issue 7 in Immortal Era,
Right.
and that one is out and fulfilled, and now issue 8 went back to the original editor, but with Corruptor, you're working on that one, and you should have issue 2 in your hands. I'm hoping by the end of the week, because I'm trying to. My artist is getting way too close to catching up to me, so I'm trying to race ahead and actually make sure he doesn't catch me. And it's like, hey, I have nothing for you. No work, sorry.
Let's break down some stuff. John, pick a book, tell us about it, and then we'll move to the next person.
Oh, well, let's talk about, we just wrapped the first mini-series, I guess. First arc of Drumsticks of Doom, which is my heavy metal epic comic with co-creator Dan Doherty on art. Yeah, he and I have been working on it behind the scenes for about 3 years, and got to issue 4. You know how it goes in indie comics. You have all these plans to put them out, at a certain timeline, and it doesn't always work that way. So, but we did finally reach the end of the first arc, so that's completed. I know that people get very excited, for Kickstarter and Indiegogo and Crowdfunder and all those, and of course we love them. We've had great success there, but I appreciate you having me on, because it is up for pre-order through our site. That does help just as much as any other. I still have the trouble after all these years of getting people to go to the web store and click, put in their basket and purchase it. We just get so much more excitement on these darn Kickstarters, so we keep doing them. But if anybody's interested, if you're into heavy metal, it pulls a lot of lore from heavy metal songs, and things like Manowar lyrics and Black Sabbath and things like that, and follows Lana finds a magical pair of drumsticks, but she just wants to play indie music in this heavy metal world, and she's thrust into a war to keep heavy metal at the top of the charts. So we've had a lot of fun. It's really, been in my 15-year career, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum of Sarah. I'm more towards the retirement age. It's been one of my most successful series, and people just get so excited, and I've just had so much fun making it. There is a plan for 2 more arcs. We got to see how the trade does, because like I said, well, like you said too, you always have these plans for these long things, but sometimes you got to let them simmer and see, is the readership there to invest that time that is so precious these days.
Definitely. Going through the same stuff with Tilt, it's always interesting, because Ed and I were talking about it, and he was sharing that it's so different to do like a trade collection. I'm going to let Sarah talk about Knave of Hearts. I'll be muted for a second while we settle a child.
Yeah, so I've got a persistent cat that is very confused that someone's up and about, so it's nipping at my ankles. But yeah, Knave of Hearts is it's the start of a steampunk fantasy, and it's funny you mentioned sort of heavy metal. It's about a metal band that kind of get thrust into a there's a civil war going on between the gods, and they kind of get caught in the crossfire. I've got a copy of it here. And yeah, basically, it's called Knave of Hearts because each god is named after a card in a deck of cards. So you've got the King of Spades, obviously Knave of. I was going to call it Jack of Hearts, but obviously Marvel hit me to the post. I don't know if it's the same in America, but over here in England, a Jack of Hearts can also be called a Knave of Hearts when you're playing card games. So that's where the name came from. And yeah, it's just sort of the start of this sort of epic adventure. Sorry, bugger off, cat. The start of this sort of epic universe that I've created with these 52 different gods who are all kind of trying to rule elements of the universe, but not very cohesively, because, I'm kind of like, if there is a god, I don't believe there's just one, because it's all a bit of a mess. And that tends to be when things, ruled by committee. So that was kind of what sparked the idea. And yeah, it's got kind of like a Sandman, Laura Olympus-y type feel to it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, but that's the sort of the influences behind it. That, and I studied ancient Greek history at school, so I've always had like a fascination with mythologies and ancient gods. So yeah, that's it in a very long nutshell.
And it looks huge. You said it's only 39 pages. It looks like a trade. Like,
I think Amazon give you a lovely thick cover, but yeah, 39 pages of joy. Yeah, I haven't counted it exactly, but every page is hand drawn by me, so it's near enough. And I think the second issue is going to be a few pages longer, just based on what I've already done. But I love doing it. It's kind of, I have my day job, and then I do have a family and cats. But yeah, the rest of my time is spent making the comic. So
yeah, it's a fun story, and I mean, I think you nailed what it's adjacent and similar to. So it's a big world, which is always fun when you get to play in a huge sandbox. And I know Ed's current story, Immortal Era, is another one that's kind of a fun, big world. So tell us about that.
So Immortal Era tells the story of a world 200 years in the future where every person has become immortal. So it deals with what would happen in the world if everyone had stopped dying at a certain point. So we see a world that's overpopulated, where it's kind of divided with two different places that people live. One is above ground on these surface cities, and the other one is kind of this free-for-all zone where everyone has to live in these underground abandoned subways. And we see a group of heroes who are out trying to find a way to give kind of the opposite way, where they want to save humanity by killing them. So they're trying to find a way to bring the natural life cycle back in the world. So it's a planned 24-issue series. All of issues 1 through 10, all the artwork's done. So we have 8 right now live on Kickstarter, but 9 and 10, they'll be ready to go pretty quickly because the art team has been working quite a bit, and I had some emergency things come up with my eyes. So I wasn't able to continue writing at the same pace, but I still had enough money to keep paying the art team. So we have a lot of material. So it'll be kind of almost Marvel style release schedule for a few months, where we'll have issue 8, then Corruptor 1, then issue 9, and then 10, all within about a 4 to 5 month span.
Wow.
It's a lot of work.
Knocking them out.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. I wish I was like that. I want to be cool like Ed someday. On our side, Tilt, if you guys don't know what Tilt is, it is a lot of fun and just brought me a lot of joy to create and write. I would love to continue it on at some point. But that is about a guy named Patrick who started showing what we call hyper evolution or superpowers when he was a teenager and got kind of kicked out of his life into the hands of a guy named Exquisite, who handed him over to a secretive group called the Council of Elders. They are the big bad guys in the entire kind of superhero universe, and they trained him. They did science experiments on him. They used him as a mercenary. At some point, he broke out, but as he broke out, he didn't have any money, so he's homeless when we first meet him. So he's been fun to play with in the sense of that, as well as the fourth wall breaking. It was just something that happened as I was creating that character. I was writing a different character at the time, and they're not a fourth wall breaker. And I was just like, what if I got to explain to the reader things that were going on, like with the council and in the world at large? And that's kind of how Tilt got developed. And of course, brought Joe DeSantos on for the art and Ramona Moncio for the colors. And we are now 4 issues deep, and our first trade's up and available now on Kickstarter. It's been a lot of work. I know indie superheroes are super hard for people to get invested in because of a bunch of different reasons. Release schedules is the big one, and also people are, they kind of have their superheroes that they're stuck to. The best thing that I can say about Tilt is that people have been very receptive of it, and even people that don't really read superhero stuff have read it and enjoyed it. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely do. And we'll talk a little bit about everyone that has campaigns. We can talk about kind of what we have that we either think's really cool or like something for people to check out. I'll knock mine out real quick. I think the coolest thing on ours is that this is the first time we've offered a producer tier where people can jump in and be an actual producer for the trade. So no matter what happens after this point, the goal right now is to get Tilt's Volume 1 published through a book publisher. outside of comics through an actual book publisher. That's what we're working towards. That's what we're querying towards. So I've been working on that because my life is shifting in the direction of novels and more short fictions and stuff like that for the time being. I'm still working on comics, and there's still a whole bunch of comics to come out because I have too many scripts and they're all laying around or with different artists. So I'm not saying that I'm not making comics, but what I'm saying is what I'm about to be working on is not comics. So anyway, the best one on there that I think is really cool, nothing we've offered before, is that producer tier. And that even means if it gets picked up and published by a bigger group, you're still the producer from Tilt Volume 1 for forever and ever. And we'll give you some weird t-shirt. I want to make a really dumb design for it because Tilt has his dumb moments. So I'm still figuring that out. That's why I didn't post it. But that's the coolest one for me. Whoever wants to go next, it's your turn.
All right, we'll go in order. Again, I don't have anything active right now. Exciting. We did do, these sweet drumsticks. That's the logo. You can't really see it, signed by Dan and I. They glow in the dark. So that's part of the story. So you missed those. They may be back for the next campaign, so make sure you follow us at our link tree there. But what I do have in the link that Aaron was so nice to share is deals. You want discounts? We got discounts. You buy all 4 issues, you get money off. You buy all of our books from last year, you get money off. We have digital bundles on the site. So again, that really, really helps keep these books in production. Everybody asks through every campaign, are you going to have drumsticks? Are you going to have drumsticks? You have the stupid book about drumsticks. They're huge. They're going to be a pain in the ass to ship. But if people are so excited about them, I definitely think we will do them again. I also did autographed sticks for the drumsticks that I used to record the intro video. So that was fun. We've had guitar picks before. We've done some, I think, some cool stuff. I love music and I love being in a band and all that. So we try to add a little bit of that, to the swag.
That's
and
awesome.
then again, after this, like Aaron said, a huge step for us. I've had a couple of my series go to trade in the past, but this will be a big one. Drumsticks of Doom. We will be collecting the first 4 into a trade. That'll be a huge step and a big barometer on what the interest is in this book going forward. That I hope is going to come end of this year, early next year. So
Sounds fun. Sarah, what's the coolest thing you have on your campaign?
I think I've only got one left, but I think the coolest thing in my campaign is to be in issue 2. So I've got, obviously, because I'm the artist and the author, I have carte blanche over what goes in. And I only offered it for 2 people and one's already gone. But yeah, you can have you can feature in issue 2. Issue 2 is a lot more focused actually in the realm of the gods, so it's sort of less focused on what's going on Earth and more what's going on in their realm. So there are some really cool sort of sub characters that people could be. So I've got one person who is a fan of because the band that feature in my first novel are a real band from the UK called Esoterica. Music's very good. And one of their mega fans was like, yes, I want to be in issue 2. So one's already gone, but yeah, there is one of those left. And then I think I've already started ordering some of the goodies that are going to go to backers. So I've got some art prints, and this one's actually from issue 2. Because I've finished a handful of pages, but I'd say actually being in the comic is probably my piece de resistance tier that I've got going on.
So much music. One of the highlights of my entire comic book career, which is not very long, is that I got to do an ad, and it was until issue 2 for the Classic Crime, which is my favorite band and has been since high school. And so I had reached out to the lead singer, and he was like, oh, that'd be dope. And so he let us put an ad for his newer album. And that was back in issue 2. But I'll always remember that because that was just a highlight for me. Anyway, a lot of music going on. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, so speaking of music, one of the bands that I really liked going through college and everything is this hardcore band Thursday. And I actually got permission from their singer to use one of their song quotes for the back cover. So kind of speaking of band stuff, that's something really cool in this one. I saw him, he was playing a little acoustic show when I was doing Free Comic Book Day down in San Diego. And approached him at the table and he loved the idea. So we have that. One of the tiers I really like for mine is our water bottles. We had these really cool water bottles done and they came out beautifully. I only got 10 made so far. One is sold, but hopefully kind of those pick up. But I always look at things as whatever doesn't sell on a Kickstarter can always bring more eyes to your table. Because whenever you're doing a con, the more variety you have, the more people are going to look your way as opposed to the ones that just have a table full of books. So I like to have different things. I have CGC books on my table, and that brings those high-end collectors who they of course they think you have some major important Marvel book, but I'm like, no, this is the one you want to get because it's going to be worth more than that Marvel one someday, and you're going to kick yourself for walking away when you see the Netflix announcement. You're going to be like, damn, I could have had that book. I've sold more books that way, kind of with that. You don't want to be the one that walked away from that first issue of Ninja Turtles when you had it in your hand, do you? Right. So it kind of works. And yeah, I tried to do a tier where we would draw somebody in, but it was going to be drawing in their head on a spike. And maybe it was too grim for the general public. I mean, I would pay to have my head on a spike, but no one else seemed really interested in it. So now we just have two random people's heads on spikes, but it could have been one of my readers.
It could have been. You know, it's funny because when you ask another creator, like my buddy Don Cardenas, he always says that whenever his buddy's asking, oh, you want me to draw you in the book? He's always like, oh, am I going to be being killed or murdered or beaten up? When you're a creator, I guess you just think that's going to be your fate, you know?
Yeah.
That's interesting because we did a tier on our Welcome to Everville campaign that you'd get drawn into the second issue, which is coming, by the way. It is being worked on. Anyway, that was one of them, and basically that's what it was you get drawn into it, but like I can't promise your fate. So I don't know. People did like that.
Have gone well for us. I haven't done anything. I did have one of our creators got bit on the butt by an alligator, but we haven't murdered anyone yet.
Yet. Next time. What's everybody's feelings right now about campaigning and Kickstartering and the general market? You can say as much as you want to say, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, you said we only have an hour here, so that's kind of a big question. No, but I talked first. Somebody else go.
Well, my experience is very limited because my Kickstarter is my first ever Kickstarter. I've backed other Kickstarters before, but I understand that the market at the moment is challenging. I don't know, again, certainly here in the UK, there's a bit of a cost of living crisis going on. Inflation's a bit out of control. So I think people haven't got the money that like maybe they would have a year ago to sort of spend on sort of campaigns. But I mean, I was very lucky. My Kickstarter was funded in a matter of hours, so I've kind of had a lot of beginner's luck, and a lot of like lovely supporters who have sort of been on the journey with me whilst I've been creating the comic. And I think if you've managed to build that, obviously depending on how big your Kickstarter is and what your ask is, I think there's still space for Kickstarters and Indiegogos, but it would be awesome if there was some kind of magical alternative for indie creators, I think, to kind of, I don't know, like some sort of middle ground or some kind of platform to help you build your audience before you start a Kickstarter. Because certainly as a newbie coming in, that felt like a lot of hard work. I didn't really know what I was doing. Aaron was very helpful. In fact, the whole community has been really helpful, but I do feel like my comic book has mostly been marketed at other creators because that's my only pool of people that I know that like comics, because, you know, my comic hasn't made it to a Comic-Con yet, for me to sort of naturally build an audience that way. And I think that's maybe for me the missing link is helping to find the people that are going to love your comic, like whether it would be through like hashtags you could put in your comic so people could like want to find like a steampunk comic. I don't know, maybe this stuff's already out there and I'm just talking out my bum, but it just, that's the bit that I see a lot of creators and myself included sort of messaging is I don't know how to find my audience. I kind of know what my audience is, but I don't know how to get my comic in front of them. And I think if there could be some magical platform that maybe did that.
I'm
that would be
interested to hear
awesome.
Ed's take on this, because Ed does do cons and large cons at that, and so I'm curious if that's where you have found like your not just creator fan base, because I have the same issue where most of the people that back our stuff are other creators, and then you look through the list and you'll see names that you just don't recognize, and for me that's like, oh, cool.
I think the biggest thing, because I do a lot of cons, I try to do at least one show a month, and I don't discriminate. I'll do the big ones, the small ones, all the ones in between. And it is a way to build your audience that's more organic, because there's a vast array of books that people can choose from. Those who come to your table are interested mostly in what you have to sell, especially those who walk away with a book. And it's a good way to build audience, but I find that audience at shows, especially since I stick mostly to Southern California, I travel at least once a year, but most of my shows are local. So those same people are going to attend all the shows, and they don't necessarily want to buy the book on Kickstarter. They know, okay, I can go to your table and just get it later. So you kind of build two different audiences. You have your con regulars. They're going to come to your table every time. They're going to look. They're going to see exactly what one book do they not have. That's the one I need, and they move along. With Facebook, and he's asking, I haven't done any. I did paid ads on Facebook and Instagram, and that's what got my account completely trashed. So I'm a bit afraid to try that again. That's what turned me into Lily Collins for a minute, and yeah, it was because they were targeting anyone who had a credit card link to their Facebook, and we don't. If we only have an hour, you don't need that story, because that was just all kinds of nightmarish. But I find that I get a lot of familiar faces, non-creator faces on Kickstarter, and as you continue to put out issue after issue after issue, they continue to back you with whatever tier they were before. And I did a Kickstarter right when the United States got one of the stimulus checks. And that was my best campaign yet, because everybody had money to burn. I did a couple cons after that, and same result. I mean, people were just, money was flowing, everybody was open. And now it's a lot harder sell on Kickstarter. It's a lot harder sell even at the cons. And you get people that used to back you for physical tiers. They still want to read the book, but now they're backing you at a digital level. So as the money's gone down, you're not quite hitting those same great levels you were seeing during the time when everybody had spare money. But I see that the readers are sticking. So that's the good thing that I see, is once you've built your audience, they generally are going to stay put, whether they're always a steady presence at your table at a con, or they're constantly going to give you some sort of backing through Kickstarter. So that's what I've seen. Some people that were buying original art, they were buying my more expensive covers. They're going down to smaller tiers, but those names are always there. And those names that I've seen since issue 1, the ones that weren't family and friends, because when I launched issue 1, I knew nothing about anything. So I didn't network with other creators. I just said, all right, it seems like Kickstarter's the way you put a book out. Let's try that. And it was more like walking around and shaking down my family and friends, like, please just back it for even $1. I need something. Right. It's never going to make it. So the names that weren't family members, those ones seem to have stuck around all the way from the beginning.
Good.
Yeah. And to Dan's question, I don't have a ton of experience with Facebook ads. I've used a few, but I know people who swear by them, who run them, almost every campaign or all the time. Facebook ads seem to be the best. Twitter and Instagram, I've heard not great things about success with clicks on the link. So, but that's just one person's behind.
And I think with the Facebook ads, you can use them. You can pay to have them done on Facebook and Instagram, so
right.
they'll run them simultaneously. And I did that. I mean, now the problem is I'm just completely petrified to put a credit card through Facebook.
Well, I'm scared now. I was planning on doing it for our last week.
Just do it and delete it.
Yeah. I have my secondary Facebook account. I'll run an ad on that one, because I'm not as afraid of it getting taken over, because it took over one that I had for 15 years. It had pictures of my kids as babies on it, and the thought of losing it was pretty scary. So it took many emails and a lot of pestering, and I think I went on LinkedIn and I was just sending emails to anyone that had Meta as their employment. I mean, they might be the Meta janitor. I didn't care. I'm sending them the same email. And after hundreds of emails, I finally got one of those employees to email me back and get the account fixed.
Man.
But now, no ads, no way. No one's seeing my credit card on Facebook again.
No ads, no house.
By the way, Dan, if you're still in here, if you drop your link, I'll make sure, or I'll just go look it up. Never mind, you don't have to do all that. I'll look it up. Dan has a project right now that's up too. Super cool creator.
And Dan and I actually have a shared exclusive. So if you buy both of our books, you get a double-sided foil card with two of a Mortal Era cover and then the Worms Crawl Out cover. So
Nice.
Dan and I kind of collaborated to put something cool together if you back both campaigns.
Nice.
It's something I saw when there were two of the Cthulhu ones going on at the same time. They did kind of a double-sided bookmark that you could get if you backed both campaigns for a physical level. So I thought something to try, especially since Dan is directly connected with my book as a letterer.
Yeah, those have gone pretty. I did last issue. We did a pick because Travis Gibb has Granite State Punk, and I have Drumsticks of Doom.
Yep.
And before that, with Matt Knowles and Steph Cannon's Heirs of Isildur, we did like a jam print. So yeah, those are always fun. That's a good way to do it. I mean, for Sarah, she's talking about it. Find other people running campaigns, find fun things to do like that. It is difficult at first, to build that audience, because you got to have something to give them first for them to decide if they want to be your audience or not. And even after 15 years of doing it, it's still a challenge. Everybody wants that program like you talked about where you can easily share your stuff, but it's just over the years it's gotten worse and worse. It used to be I could post in Facebook, Twitter. I was on, certain message board groups, for us really old farts. And I would get, 75 to 100 backers pretty easily, send out a message on my mailing list and get a few there. And campaigns usually ran smooth. Nowadays, there's just so much chaos to social media, so much algorithm, subduing everything you post, that it's even more challenging now. I mean, the best advice is be on all the platforms, be on them regularly, engage often. That helps. Start to build that message. That email list. That's really helpful because you're going to get a little bit from each. You're going to get your friends to pass it around word of mouth. You're going to get a few from your mailing list. You're going to get a few from social media, and then you just kind of grind it out from there. So again, I've only cracked 200 backers 3 times in 15 years. So I just have to tell you, it just takes a long time, it just takes a long time. So be patient, have faith in your product. You're obviously putting on a professional looking product. That's the first start. Put out something that looks good, reads well, and, be patient. Again, a lot of people, if they don't get 100 readers for their first book, they're ready to jump ship and do something else. And it really it doesn't happen overnight. It really does take a long time.
I think I'm at the stage now where even if nobody read it, I think it's a bit like comic crack. I'm going to keep drawing anyway. I don't think anyone can stop me now, which is the nice thing about being like the sole, other than an editor, being the only person involved. It's like my Kickstarter's there to get it printed. If I can't get it printed, that PDF is going to be like just spammed everywhere for people to get. So yeah, I'm quite lucky, but I do know other creators, obviously the ones that are trying to form teams to get their work out there. I see a lot of frustration floating about at the moment. Even people that are well established. So I get that I've obviously decided to do a Kickstarter at like the worst possible time, but never mind.
Yeah, and again, it's like a lot of things. Is there ever going to be a great time? I mean, like you mentioned, in your country and ours, there's economic turmoil and coming out of major health crises and all these things. If you stressed about that so much, you never put it out. But the other thing too is to be realistic. You have a professional, good-looking product. You've looked at other Kickstarters. I can tell it looks great. You presented it professionally, and you were reasonable with the goal. I think sometimes when I see newer creators struggle out the gate, it's because they want $6,000 in their first. And again, I've in 15 years have only raised $6,000 once. So, not to say like I'm some big cheese, but again, if you really got to have something special, stand out, or some sort of other way of getting your name out there. Maybe like, I don't know, you have a huge TikTok account or something. If you don't have that, again, anything over $5,000 is a lot these days. So, set a reasonable goal and then build from there. I've seen a lot of other people do that too. $5,000 or $1,500, $1,000 campaigns. Those are good, groundwork to start with.
Yeah. Well, as I said, my Kickstarter was more, I want to get another small print run done for Comic Cons that I'm going to early next year, and just help people find my comic, really, because I was told, like, a lot of people said to me, Kickstarter's the place to go to start to build an audience, because people do just go on and look for indie comics to support. So I've had lots of really good advice from fellow creators. So all of you that are watching, thank you so much, because
make sure you put your social media stuff in your book, QR code something, or if they come to the table, have a QR code they can scan, sign up for your. Don't let them walk away, because that is huge. You keep, even if 100 people stop by your booth at a show and you keep 5 of them, that's a huge thing.
I have some little business cards I got printed, so I can just be like, yeah.
I also like having a clipboard where people can write down their email address, because I like to put a really fancy pen out, so people are like, dude, this pen's really cool. And then I'm just like, well, you should write with it on that piece of paper your email address.
I like that.
I don't have it near me, but I definitely I put it in the closet a few years ago, and then I brought it back out for the last few shows. I'm like, I need a physical, and it's got the QR code on the back, so I can just flip it over and say, if you don't want to sign up,
that's a good idea. I didn't think about having the QR code on the back, because I always have the clipboard on the table, and I actually had Finish Line comic pins made. So I have really fancy Finish Line comic pins, and they're like, oh, that's a cool pin. I'm like, hey, they're available for sale, but you don't have to buy one. But I'm going to like that. Yeah, but you can write with it. So use that, and then have flip the clipboard over and have that QR code. So it's like, hey, at least give me a follow, and I'll hand you a sticker and send you on your way.
Oh, and I don't know if Dan's still in the chat, but I didn't realize he was Worms Crawl Out. I just I found him through one of you guys must have reposted or something.
Yeah, I think I posted his campaign. I always have the link to his in mind, because it's like, hey, buy both. You need that special card, because we're printing just enough. They're not going to have extras for shows or anything like that. So it's kind of print what we need, and the only way you're going to get it is through the 2 campaigns.
And his campaign, if you can do it, I know it's hard, but he got me with that free shipping, even though it's probably baked into the price of the book. In my mind, I was getting something for free, so I was like, ooh, free shipping.
Yeah, I have free shipping on most of my tiers, except for the trades, because the trades are trickier and they cost a lot more. And what I found with trades, because I was talking to Aaron about it, is a lot of the people, especially my regulars, they already own all the issues.
Yeah.
And they don't care about owning a trade, because they're just like, I just need issue 7. That's why I did the trade and issue 7 together. And the majority of my sales were people just keeping their collection going, getting their issue 7, and keeping their stack of floppies. They didn't need the trade, but you take that trade to a con, it's a whole different story. People don't want to have to buy 7 floppies or 6 floppies, because it collects 1 through 6. It's a little cheaper to buy that trade, and they're happier to do that. So that's what I found, is on the Kickstarter, the trades weren't a powerful thing, but at a con, that's what people like. They see that trade, and that's what they flock to on your table.
That's exactly why we are. That's exactly why we're doing it at all. That's honestly why the goal is it's only like 1,500, is because we're just trying to get enough that we can bring to shows. And I haven't done shows in a long time, so it's kind of going to be like a return to doing them for me, and I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while, but I'm hoping to do some better ones. The area that the North Carolina area is not great for comic books in general. Just people aren't there for that. They, Artist Alley and any of the creators, it's pretty empty for pretty much every weekend that you're there. So finding shows that actually still care about comics, I think, is going to be kind of the main focus when we do go back.
Yeah,
You might have to travel a little bit, it sounds like. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be in Southern California where we have a wide array of really good, strong shows where,
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that, yeah, they're only going for whatever the Hollywood presence may be. But there's also people, they just want something new. So they're going to go into Small Press or Artist Alley. They're looking for 3 or 4 new titles that they can read that are outside of the mainstream. So at the smaller shows that I've done, you get those ones that people are looking directly to, buy something new because they're fed up with the big 3 and they want something that's outside of the box. So they're willing to try it. And that's, like I said, that's where the beauty of the trade, like, okay, I can get that full story arc in one shot and, just walk out with one new book.
That's great. You would think in Chicago we've lost like the mid-level shows, so hopefully those will come back. I've got a couple of smaller ones. There's one in Northwest Indiana, and I'm doing a couple at like some local breweries do like Comic-Con shows, and that's cool. But I really do need those mid-level shows, and you would think in a big city like Chicago, we've had a couple come and go, and the smaller like indie press ones like Cake is a zine and Indie Comic Fest. It's so competitive that you can't get in. So
yeah,
it's been a struggle for me for shows as well for the last few years.
I actually really enjoyed just doing signings at shops. I took a lot more joy in that than I did doing cons. And I haven't tried to kind of reboot doing that, but I think I probably will with the trade. But we actually went to a few different stores a few days ago and talked to them about the trade coming out. I had worked with 4 shops together to try to figure out a retailer package. And one of the shops that I went to, the guy just lambasted trades. But his store had more trades than most stores. And it was just funny. And he also hated Neil Gaiman as a person. And I thought that was hilarious too. So,
oh, wow.
All in all, it was a great conversation.
Sounds amazing. And I've had plenty of those. I mean, when you visit comic shops, they're more hit and miss than anything.
Yep.
You can find a comic owner that's open and, really cares about what you're doing and wants to support an indie. And then you get some that would prefer to spit on you on the way in and out. And
while complaining about the current
be a
state of the industry.
Right. That they have nothing to do with, right? That is one thing we definitely have in abundance. We have 5 or 6 just amazing shops in and around the Chicagoland area. So I'm very blessed to get our books into shops. I can do an hour or so drive in a circle and hit 5 or 6 great shops and get some books in there and consignment and stuff. So I'm fortunate in that regard.
I have 2 or 3 really strong ones, and then I have some that straight robbed me and just stood me up. So I have my great experiences, and then I have my not so good ones, and it's like always be cautious. And I tell any creator, never give them the book on the promise that they'll pay you later. So you want it now or you don't want it, because I'm still, what are we at? 4 years from now, still waiting on my pay you later money.
Oh goodness. Nope.
Nope. Just
but you learn the hard way when you first get in, because I was just thinking, oh, this is just amazing. They're going to have my book on the shelf. That's the win. But in the end, if you win like that, you're going to be out of business quick.
Sure.
Sarah, what's it like over there?
Like over there on the others.
On the other side, I've been quite lucky. So the comic book shops that have stocked my comics so far have all, I've submitted an invoice when I've taken the issues in, and I've been paid. So I think from a commerce point of view over here, people are. It's unlikely that you wouldn't get paid. I think there would be such an uproar of, I can't imagine, all the comic book sort of shop owners I've ever met, their passion is comics. They're not doing it unless they're passionate about comics, and the idea of ripping off a creator, I think, would be pretty icky. And the community's quite small over here. So I think word would get out fairly quick that this comic book shop is not paying people for stock, and that would lead to crash and burn. So I think we kind of... I wouldn't say there's no risk, because there's always dodgy characters out there, but I'd say the risk is probably a bit smaller over here just because the community's a lot smaller. And I know that we've got some fairly vigorous laws over here that would also cause problems if someone wasn't paid for stock. Like they would be able to get them arrested for some theft. Whereas I think the rules aren't quite the same over where you are, just based on my very limited experience of being in the States for a very short period of time.
We believe in
it just
loopholes.
seems that, yeah, and I think America is great in that there's a much bigger culture of being allowed to fail, which is great for creatives and for businesses. But I also think that, just the rules are looser in America around that sort of stuff, which means people are more likely to be able to get away with it. I think shop owners would really struggle to get away with that over here unless it's all done online. I mean, most of the comic book shops I've been to, I've physically gone into the shop to do stuff rather than, where I've had a comic book shop in the States take some copies. That was all done virtually, but there were various safeguards that I put in place to make sure, like I said, I'm not sending them to you until you've paid me, basically.
Yeah.
Because I just thought it seems silly to send lots of books with all the postage that's involved, and not have someone fork out for that beforehand. So I think a little bit of Sarah Savvy and a little bit of where I've gone into physical shops in the UK, I think it is just a bit of a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and I'll say I've never been to England, but I can still count on one hand how many shops have purchased books directly from us and said we want to stock these, and 2 of them are in England, and that's OK
That's
and
cool.
Gosh Comics. So oddly enough, I get
Gosh
more support overseas.
Nice.
I'm hoping to get my comic in Gosh Comics. They've said yes, they'll have it, but they were a bit. I think we've just had small press day over here, and I think they were just swamped with comics. So they sort of said if you can come back in a couple of months. So that's my next adventure, is to kind of pop into Gosh next time I'm in London and be like, here they are, please. Put them on the shelf.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
Well, what's next for anybody?
What's
More
next
stupid
for
comics,
me?
more bad decisions, more losing money. The same as we always do every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come out in the negative, but we got a bunch of cool books. I got a whole, let me reach back here. I got a whole stack of them that we put out in the last year or so, so
Nice.
that's what it's all about for me. Like Sarah said, I have a day job I go to. I'm lucratively employed. I have a family, and my wife works, so I'm fortunate enough that I can spend my hobby money on a little bit of comic books. But I am again hoping the trade is around the corner. But issue 1 through 4 is up, with the 4th issue on pre-order right now. So the more people that jump in now, the better we'll be set up for hopefully in early 24 having the next arc with issue 5.
Nice. Whomever else.
So for me, lots more Immortal Era coming. I'm hoping by next year to be putting out the 2nd volume trade, which would have issues 6 through 12. So we would have 2 trades available, and then Corruptor, the first issue is coming out of that. The 2nd issue we should be moving for early next year. So lots of new stuff, and I'm just excited for my first new book. So Immortal Era has been what I've been working with since 2019. So this will be my first thing outside. I mean, it's still a shared universe, so you see enough connection to keep the Immortal Era fans happy. You can catch those little Easter eggs throughout, but a new series with a new tone and vibe. So really excited to have something new, especially if when you're working the table. All right, if this doesn't work, well, how about that? So the more variety you have, the better chance you have of someone walking away holding one of your books.
For me, I'm going to my first Comic-Con on the 2nd of September. We've got a Comic-Con called NICE, N-I-C-E, which is actually just down the road from where I am. And it is one of these only comics. There's no movie or film stars or anything like that. It is purely comics. So I've paid for my first table, and I've, out of my own pocket, I've sort of paid for a small print run and some art prints and some magnets and some bookmarks, and I'm taking some big folders of like original art along to kind of be like, hit drawings, woo. And to be honest, I'm not really expecting to sell much. It's more just to sort of find my feet meet other people in the UK, because most of the comic creators I've met are USA based. So to kind of meet some UK based creators, artists, and just like generally sort of experience being at a con. So that's like the biggie that I'm a little bit nervous about, but I'm sure it'll be fine. It's one of those, I like to be drawing and writing. Everything else is kind of, oh, do I have to? Please don't make me. Because I find it really nerve-wracking, like coming on these sort of like talky things. I found it, I tried not to get nervous about this one, but I do find it quite sort of nerve-wracking talking in front of people or talking to people. I just kind of want to wave my comic at them and go, just read it. So that's the biggie. And the Kickstarter that I've got going is to kind of help me get more fun things, like another small print run and other stuff for future cons. But the other obviously big thing that I'm working on is issue 2. So I am Go Big or Go Home. So issue 2 is going to be like another giant. I think that's how it is. Giant copies, is that's the term?
Yeah.
I think I'm only ever going to do giant copies because I can't help myself. I can't tell my story in 24 pages or less. So yeah, and that's, I'm probably about a quarter of a way through issue 2, like fully drawing. It's written, it just needs to be drawn, and then the lettering popped in, which I'll probably do myself again because I learned a lot about lettering from in fact it's funny, look at the first couple of pages of issue 1, I'm like, oh. But by the end I'd kind of found my feet a little bit. So it's kind of, I've taken everything I've learned from issue 1 and I'm putting it into issue 2, but it does also mean that I'm making issue 2 much more complicated to draw than issue 1 was. So I think that's going to take me well into next year to get that done. But yeah, so cons and issue 2, they're my like big hitters that are coming up.
Nice.
It's awesome. You have a con that's dedicated to comics.
Yeah, well, I guess all of them are now since Hollywood's on strike.
That's true.
I was in San Diego and it was complete insanity on the floor. And
yeah,
every one of my friends, that was when I decided, all right, I'm going to take it off and just enjoy the con. And I'm watching all my friends sell out of everything. They're like, why the hell aren't you on this side of the table? And just like, oh man, I could have been, because it was just insane. You take the Hollywood out of San Diego Comic-Con and everybody wants new books, new series. It was like nothing I've ever seen. So yeah, that's good. And then with your supersize, that's the beauty of indie comics. You can dictate how long your book needs to be. Yeah. And no one's going to tell you, no, 24 pages is what you're allowed and not a page more, because issue 9 of Immortal Era that's going to be coming out later this year or early next year, it's 32 pages. Because I'm like, you know what? I stopped at 24. I still had a lot more to go. Who's telling me I have to stop there? So yeah, that's the beauty. You need to supersize it, then supersize that thing.
Yeah, and I definitely think people need to lean in that more. First drumsticks, 28, 22, 22, and then 24. You know what? Prices change. It's my comic. I can do it however I want.
Yeah.
You know?
You have that power. That's the luxury of indie. It's like, all right, you have all the costs involved, but you have the power to say, you know, this one needs a little bit more. I've told what I need to for this one, so I'm done. So yeah,
that is true. But budget-wise for printing and your own time, of course, are limitations. So don't make every issue 100 pages or it'll never come out.
Yeah, the advantage of being a beginner is you don't know the rules. So I just kind of did it. It was like, well. And then afterwards, people were like, you do know that like normally like a single issue is like 24 pages. And I was like, well, mine's not. Never mind. Like,
it serves the story. Yeah, some rules you want to learn being a newbie, some you want to ignore.
Yeah,
I mean, when I first talked to Sarah, I was like, well, no, you lean into that stuff. You don't you shouldn't cut your book in half. No, it's a 39 page. Yeah. It's a large story. That's great. I mean, that sells better anyway. So
well, I mean, as soon as you held it up, like I said, you see that thicker printing. It's a little
we call it a
prestige book in the States, but that catches my eye right away because I love books like that. I don't.
Yeah, it's gonna bring eyes to your table.
If I could not do singles, if I could not do the singles, I would definitely avoid them because I don't
all day.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Cool. For me, I have another series starting after Tilt's campaign. I don't know when we'll do this launch. It's ready, but I need to actually put the campaign together. It's called Fire by Night. It's my first rated M comic, so it's my new little foray for myself. But it's a really fun. It's about Knight Templar who kind of went a little bit too far and decided to abandon posts and run off to feudal Japan, and then he kind of ends up in the middle of a bit of chaos over there. But there's a lot of violence, and it's kind of a dude trying to figure out where his line is for things he's willing to do and where he's not willing to cross. So that has been shopped around a bit. So we'll see kind of what's going to happen with that. But that's the next big thing for us. There are a couple other books that are being worked on. And then I've been hired to script a couple of things lately that are supposed to be coming out. One of them is Atradian Justice, which is going to be a new superhero series. So for myself, I'm not really writing superhero stuff right now, kind of backing off from all that stuff to work on this other stuff. But somebody else wanted me to write for them, but it's not part of my superhero universe. It's part of their own thing. But anyway, I still get to play with superheroes, so that's fun. And then someday I'll finish the script that John and I are working on. And
spoilers.
Yeah, we'll see if that comes out.
Exclusive content. I tried to ask Aaron to edit some for me. He's like, "No, man, I'm just writing this." I'm like, okay, I guess you're in. Then let's go. Sometimes we send Aaron an idea, and he's like, "No, I'm in the project."
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a fun little development too. So I would look forward to that book being out, because I guess that would be another one that's like a rated M that I've not really messed in that realm yet. So that's new for me, and people are going to be like, Aaron's doing mature stuff, and yep,
Aaron finally matured.
I guess it'd be the opposite for me. They're like, oh, he's doing something family friendly. It's like, all right, everything I make is slightly more offensive than what came before it.
Right. What's up, Chuck? Sorry, I just saw that.
Chuck.
Hope things are good for you, man. Everybody, if you're listening to this, please check out all the links in the comments. But yeah, I'm glad we got to get together. And this has been fun. Hopefully everybody checks out all the different campaigns, and at least link up with each other if we don't know each other, but it seems like we all know each other. So I get it, Chuck. I get it.
No one ever accused me of maturity, but
yeah. No, we're making comics here, man.
Yeah.
But
I got to check Sarah's out. I haven't actually seen your campaign yet, so I got to get over to that one.
Check it out. Check it out. I'm going to drop the picture Sarah sent me a little while ago. I'll drop that tomorrow and probably an update. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, ditto. After sleep.
Yeah, you need to go to bed.
Yeah.
You got to go to proper bedtime, because for me it's like 5 p.m. So
it's 1 a.m. here. So
wow, so
time
you had to battle to get up for this one.
I
Cat's
managed
out.
to stay awake. Yeah, the cat has the cat is still very confused, but yeah, there was a slight chance you'd turn the camera on and my face would just be face planted on the keyboard. But no, I've managed to stay awake.
That's awesome. Good job. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Anyway, check out everybody's campaigns. Check out John's link. Make sure you guys support other indie. And if you can't support, then do things like this. Like we all
and share and like posts that people put on.
Right.
Yeah, if you can't afford, just share, like, and comment.
That's right. All right. Anybody want to do the last word?
The last word is mature.